let's talk about some of the other things that are behind the scenes that many of us don't know about, in particular when it comes to athletes of African descent.
It's designed to be inclusive, an inclusive event where your ability carries you as
Mhm.
far as you can go. And the spirit of sportsmanship, human triumph, faster, higher, stronger is the motto, and so on. But there are those that feel that been some very questionable rulings lately or decisions made that some feel impact athletes of color more than others. For instance,
Mhm.
in the area of swimming, Alice Deering became the first Black swimmer for Team Great Britain. She's a British athlete who qualified for the swimming events and will be representing Britain in Tokyo. Now, she partnered with a company called Soul Caps to create a swimming cap for her hair. She has an afro. The International Swimming Federation has come out and banned oversized caps for swimmers, saying that they don't see that there's a need for that size of cap.
Mhm.
But there is, because women of color who have afros have, well, more hair by definition. The whole idea behind a swimming cap initially was Caucasian hair tends to go with gravity. It falls down, and when you're swimming, it can get in your face and so on. So the swim cap is designed to ameliorate that. Well, black hair grows up, it defies gravity, right? So there is a need for an appropriate size cap to fit the black hair.
Mhm.
So there are those that say that the Swimming Federation might have missed the boat on this as it relates to diversity and inclusion. And this is not a very inclusive sort of move when you ban caps that are designed to accommodate the afro that are worn by Black women. And we also know that when it comes to drowning, studies show that African American children are 3 times more likely to drown than Caucasian children, and twice as likely to drown as Asian children. 95% of Black adults in Great Britain cannot swim. Okay.
Mm.
So 79% of Asians in Great Britain cannot swim. So you now see that swimming is a sport that really needs more diversity, if you will, if in fact they're appealing to that demographic.
Right.
So Alex Deering had partnered with a company called Soul Cap to create caps that would accommodate the afro. And the Swimming Federation has banned those soul caps, and they will not be used in Tokyo, barring some sort of a reversal. Now, again, to be clear, this decision is coming from the Swimming Federation, not the International Olympic Committee. But the Swimming Federation governs swimming events at the Olympic Games, and it is the call of the Swimming Federation to make, and they've made this call. Now, the IOC can come out and overrule that call because it's their event, but it's not likely they're going to do so. Another area of concern is in the area of producing hormones, natural hormones. I mean, for instance, the World Athletics Association banned the South African runner Caster Semenya from competing in events. She is the defending champion in the 800 meters, the women's 800 meters. They say that her testosterone levels are elevated and therefore gives her an unfair advantage in that event. And they asked her to take drugs to
Mhm.
lower the testosterone levels. And these are drugs that are unproven. We don't know if they're safe. And she refused to do so. And as a result, they banned her from competing in any of their sanctioned events in the 800 meters. Now, what's interesting about that is that for events that are under 800 meters or under 400 meters, so for instance, the 100 and the 200, she can compete in those, but she
Mhm.
cannot compete in the 400 or the 800. Now, events longer than 800 or longer than the mile, so for instance, the 5,000 to 10,000, she can compete in those. So this ban is very narrow and only focuses on 2 events, the 400 and the 800. And it so happens the 800 is her specialty. So she will not be able to compete at the Tokyo Games. She tried to make the South African team in the 5,000 meters and she failed to qualify. So there are those that
Hmm.
feel that this rule was targeted specifically towards her.
Right.
Just last week, there were 2 Namibian athletes, 2 female athletes, who, again, it was deemed that their testosterone levels were too high still in athletics. And so they too have been disqualified from the Namibian Olympic team and will not
Mm.
be going to Tokyo because
Mm.
of those elevated testosterone levels. And then the Nigerian 4x400 meter quartet was also disqualified from the Olympic Games because of a technicality. They said that during qualifying, one of the cones weren't positioned right, but it was a technical error. And now the
Hmm.
Nigerian 4x400 meter relay team will not be able to compete. So there are those that are sensing a pattern here, and you couple that with what's happened with Sha'Carri Richardson. So I'm not so sure what the base, if there is a complete alignment in the basis of comparison, but there
Yeah.
are those that feel that some of these rules, when you consider the banning of soul caps for
Right.
Afro, for African
Hmm.
American women, when you consider the two Namibian athletes, when you consider that Caster Semenya, the South African athlete, will not be allowed to defend, you consider the disqualification of the Nigerian 4x400 meter
Hmm.
relay team on a technicality. There are those that feel that we might want to take a look at this thing and see whether or not a certain demographic is being unfairly targeted or singled out.
And I would almost argue that with Speedo Olympic swim caps, that there's probably an economic component as well.
That's an angle that I would really need to take a look at. I haven't looked at the economic piece.
Hmm.
Speedo is not an official Olympic partner. They do sponsor individual athletes, and they
Okay.
may sponsor some swim federations. But that'd be a very interesting angle to see whether or not you have a competitive situation between companies whereby one of these powerful swim companies does not want an upstart to be a part of the Olympic sponsorship regimen, or to be
Hmm.
sponsoring athletes. I don't know. I
Hmm.
couldn't speak to that piece.
Right, and I'm not saying it's one or the other
Yeah.
in terms of if it's the economics of it versus the hair defying gravity and soul caps. I'm not saying I think it's both and, quite honestly, but that's my
Right.
analysis.
Yeah, but it's interesting because we've not seen this sort of ban before. There was a time that certain swimsuit that came out back in the day, and these people, the world records started falling left and right when they wore the swimsuit, and then subsequently that swimsuit was banned, right,
Mm,
from competition. So
mhm,
but we don't know what soul caps would do, right? Would soul
right.
caps in fact give an athlete some performance edge? We don't know because we've not seen soul caps deployed in Olympic competition or even at the World Championships level. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it was never given a chance to surface or feature at the Olympic Games, so we won't know if
We
soul
don't
caps
know.
gave a competitive edge.
Right, absolutely. And one last thing that is somewhat related to that, Serena Williams, when she was wearing or attempting to wear compression leggings during tennis games. So I just think it's very interesting. The things that we may need for our bodies, our heads, etc., aren't allowed. That needs to be taken into consideration.
So what happens a lot of times, unfortunately, that the people that make these decisions, you do not have people that look like us in those rooms
Right.
as these decisions are made. And I mean, I get convening focus groups and doing something, but you really need people that can speak frankly on these issues and know what the impact would be to both the athlete and public perception of your sport when certain decisions are made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Adi, I think we're going to leave it there.